Just a little disclaimer on today's video. I don't do this stuff for a living. I've done quite a bit of carpentry work in the past, but you could probably go over into this old house and listen to Tom Silva. He could probably tell you how to hang a door better than I can. But I'm just going to give you my take on my experience in the past. Hopefully it helps. Hello everyone. If you've struggled like I have in the past with hanging pre-hung doors by yourself, then I'm going to walk you through this today. I've hung a bunch of them over the past. I've not hung one in a while, but I used to would just struggle trying to hang a pre-hung door by myself. But I'm going to make it quick, but I'll tell you the steps that I take to hang one, and it works out pretty good. First off, start with the floor. Typically what I do, I'll get, in this case I've got two 2x4s, and I've got it laid across my doorway. That way I'm referencing where my door is going to be sitting, and I'm going to take and check level. If your floor is out of level, then that just adds to the fun. But in this case, in this doorway, I'm pretty lucky. If I look at my level, I've maybe got a 30-second gap over here to get me to level. So I'm pretty good. No more than that is, I can pretty much put it in there. I may get a shim and put it underneath the hinge side to raise it just a little, but I've got carpet, so you're not going to see a big gap, so I'll be okay. But if let's just say this floor was a quarter out, basically this is going to be my hinge side over here. I would have to, if I'm a quarter low on this side, I've got to raise this door up a quarter, or I've got to come over here and take off a quarter over here on this side. Now, if the carpet's going to go up against it, you can get away with raising this. But if you're on hardwood or whatever it may be, or finished concrete floor, then you're going to have to trim off whatever side to bring everything back down level to the floor. Because if you don't, you get to the top of the door and your gap is going to be different across the top. So in this case, I'm pretty lucky. I'm only a 32nd, maybe a 16th out. I can live with that with a little small shim, and the gap you're not going to notice. All right, step 2, we're going to check our opening and check for plumb. Now, I just stood this wall up, so it is a new wall. So if we look at it, I'll zoom in on the bubble. We are pretty good shape. So our wall's plumb and true. We can check it across the opening, and everything looks pretty good. So, all right, next step, you're going to take all your paperwork, about 500 staples out of the side of these doors that they staple them with. Always frustrates me when you buy these doors. The corners have shifted, the staples they shoot in them are sticking out. This one, once I took the cardboard off of it, the casing here has been cracked. Then here you are, needing to get it done, get it finished up, and you paid top dollar for it. And anyway, you get a bunch of junk. But anyway, that's part of life. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to separate our casing from the door and the hinge. So we'll get that done next. And then, before you put your door in the opening, remember to take your little lock out, or the back side of it off. I'd leave it push through the hole. It'll sort of help you hold your door when you get it in the hole, but then leave it to where once you get everything in place, you can pull it out and free it up. I'll get the casing took off and we'll set her in there. Once you get all the staples tucked out, your casing should just pop right out. So you're good to go there. All right, once we get the casing out of the back side of the door, what you want to make sure, if you're by yourself, to get everything you need. So in that case, I usually will have a 4-foot and a 2-foot level. I will have a nail gun, and I use, in this case, nailing the frame up, I shoot it in with a 15 gauge gun. 2.5-inch nails is what I usually use. Now the casing, when we put it back on the back side, we can use a smaller brad, because it's really not holding any weight, it's just holding the trim there. The outside of that, I'll have a couple wood shims in case I need to go under either the hinge side to raise it and square and plumb it up. But outside of that, that'll pretty much do us. So we will sit it in the hole and see how we do it. Sticking it in, I like to stick my fingers back behind the casing. That way I can sort of feel that I'm centered up my opening. That way when I go to put my shims in, I've got room on each side to get shims in behind it, because we're going to shim behind behind each hinge, and then where the door strike comes in, we'll shim behind that as well. That way it sturdies that up. So first thing I do is take the old trusty level, and I'm going to check my hinges and see where I am at and make sure I am plumb. Because if you don't get it plumb, you hate those doors that when you open them up, you go to shut them, or you open it and then it closes back on you. If you don't get these things hung true, the door's going to flop all over the place. So we'll move you over here on the other side. Alright, so when I put my level on my hinges, or I can come out here and go on the casing, either place, it's going to tell me that to plumb this door up, I've got to take the top over to get this thing trued up. Now if you can, I don't know if you can pick up on it on the camera, but when I do that, you can notice my gap across the top changes when I get it to plumb. So in that case, it needs to come over. A lot of these things you can about hang by eye, but you've got to have it's got to be hung straight, plumb and true, or it'll frustrate you when it goes to opening and closing itself. Always just tack on the top. Double check yourself. Nail off your hinge side. Alright, once we get the hinge side nailed in place, then we ought to be able to come over here and take our door stop out. Get that rassled out of there. Get it out of the way. Now, when I open this door, it should stay there. If I move it here, it should stay there without moving. If I take it here, it should stay there. So I want to be able to open this door up at any place and it sit there. So if you've got your hinges on the hinge side, if you've got it hung plumb, most of the time that'll work. So anyway, all right, next up what we're going to do is I will shut the door back, and then I'm going to move over here on the door strike side, and we can check our gap across the top. We look pretty good there, which by plumbing the hinge side, that sort of takes care of it. But if we do need to adjust that a little bit at the top, we've still got movement there. And then we're gonna check our gap all the way down. Now, you can put spacers in those things and you can do it however you wanna do it, but I was told a long time ago, if it looks good, it probably is. So what I usually do is just visually look at my gap. I'll check my gap across the top, nail the top. All right, next up we're gonna shim out all of our hinges, and that way we got everything locked in place and it's secure. So if in this case I don't have a bad gap, one shim pretty much will do it all the way down. But if I've got a little wider gap, what I'll usually do is take up If it's, say it's 5/8 of an inch gap, I'll take up a 1/2 inch of it with a wood block, then come in with my shim and tie it in place, so that way you're not having to stack 4 of these things together. But in this case, I'm in pretty good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, my hinge is here, I've got 3 screws. So what I'm going to do is get this in place, get it shimmed to where it's holding this true, and then I'll take one of these screws out in the center of the hinge, and then I'll take a longer screw and I'll come back through and secure everything in place. But in this case, all I need is that, and for the time being, I'll take a brad gun and I'll go right behind the hinge to where you can't see it, and I'll shoot a brad in the back side of my wedges or shims, and that'll get everything locked in place so they won't come out on me. But anyway, you can take these things, score them, they'll pop right out. Alright, we'll get the other 2 done, we'll move over to the door strike. We're about ready to put trim in. Alright, at this point, it should be pretty easy going. All we're going to do is take our casing side. If you've not dealt with one of these before, they've got basically a mortise in this casing, and this sort of acts as the tenon that plugs in. It's a tongue and groove more so than a mortise and tenon, a tongue and a groove here. So basically we'll stick this in and slide up and finish off our opening. All I have to do now is take some brads, hit it around, secure it, paint it, and put a doorknob on it. We're good to go. So anyway, hopefully this helps you. They can be aggravating to hang, but I will tell you, if you will start at the floor and work your way from there, it'll make things a lot easier. Catch you later. Got these new safety glasses and got them on my head. Good place for them.